Sorry, I was just sitting here eating my breakfast, listening to scary mysteries, and I had to do this video. Excuse me, I'm booping and gasping and cooing all over the place. Please forgive me. I know it's bad etiquette, but I'm an intuitive talker, um, so I'm watching Scary Mysteries, and it's talking about the Boston Strangler and how one of the nephews of the last victim has written a book and come forward with new evidence to say that he doesn't believe that the Boston Strangler was Albert DeSalvo, that he believes that there was possibly multiple killers, which is always what I've said. I've never believed that he was the sole killer. Even my dad didn't. My dad had always said that he was either on the run from something, like it was a great way for him to get out of something he didn't want to be in, or he was put up to it. Because there's too many inconsistencies with his testimony, with the crime scenes, and that he got stuff wrong. But I think because of the public outcry and what was happening in the media, when he confessed, the police just picked it up and ran with it, because it was like it calmed everything down for the mayor and um, the people of Boston, and because it got worldwide attention. My father was fascinated with it. My father just, his love of murders and mysteries and unsolved and all of that. So because one of the points that the guy in Scary Mysteries brings up is the inconsistencies with the victims, because he says, like serial killers usually have like an MO, which is true for the most part. Because in the case of like the DC sniper and that, none of the victims there had an MO. It was just pot luck. And even you could argue with Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy as well. Yeah, they were gay, or they were boys, or they were this, but as far as like appearance and look and that, they didn't have MOs either. So for the most part there is an MO, because obviously it goes back to some sort of twisted psychopathy in their head based on someone that did them dirty when they were growing up that they never got over. So they take it out on everybody else, kind of thing. That is it. But there's also, see, like the Charles Manson murders, there was no, other than the fact they were rich, you know, there was no MO there. They were. I really believe that the Manson murders were murders to order. That they were a hit for Polanski and the whole, trafficking thing and the sacrificing of the mother, and we all know what Polanski was doing, and we're all still talking about the effects of it today. Because I truly believe that Charles Manson and his cult were put up to that, like that they were a sacrifice, like a murder for order. Um, but with the Boston Strangler, I've always felt like it was husbands, neighbours, boyfriends getting away with it. Like there just happened to be murders at the same. See, like with Jack the Ripper, I believe that the Ripper murders, because there were murders that were like it before the girls, Whitechapel, and then the murders there were identical murders to it after. But for some reason, the press only focused on those handful of victims, and I believe it was to stitch Queen Victoria's family up. I have discussed this openly on X, and that with King Charles's Twitter account. But yeah, the media only got everyone to focus on the handful of victims. But there were victims long before those women and long after. But the reason why they focused on those handful of victims is because Prince Albert's name was brought into it. And it, like, scandaloso with Queen Victoria and the royal family, but I truly, truly believe it was done on purpose to set the royal family up for everything that's happening right now with Prince Andrew and them wanting to abolish the king so that Donald Trump could come and be king of the world. The fact that he wore that golden armour and all of that is, it's all tied in. But with the Jack the Ripper murders, I truly believe that it was a medical student, if not one, a couple of medical students who at the time, cadavers to work on bodies and that were really hard to get a hold of if you couldn't get hold of them in the black market. Um, there was the teaching hospital not far from the Whitechapel murders and that, but there was also the Institute for Women, Birth and Gynecology or something, also in the area. And most of the women, it was centred around their abdomen and like women's organs and that sort of thing. And I truly, truly believe the same with like the Cleveland torso murders, that they were all victims of medical experiments. They needed like something quick and fresh to work on. And yeah, so and a couple of the victims as well even were associated with that hospital, possibly, for like getting medical checkups and that sort of thing. So yeah, so the reason why I think they focused on those main victims of Jack the Ripper was because it brought in the royal family in the scandal as to who it could have possibly been. But yeah, I truly believe that it was for, they needed bodies to work on for to do medical experiments. Same with the Cleveland torso murders. A lot of the victims were known to the psychiatric hospital where they did experiments on the cadavers. So, with the Cleveland torso murders, a lot of the victims were homeless and living in that encampment and that. So, yeah, I think that there were, there might have been two or three of them who were known to that hospital. And it was starting to become frowned upon. So it was getting harder and harder to get bodies. So they relied on things like prisons with the death row inmates and the prisoners that died, and also insane asylums and all of that, and the murders. So I think a lot of them, like with Burke and Hare, they got themselves a supply. So yeah, so with the Boston Strangler, I have always felt that if he did any, he did maybe one, but I doubt that he even did one. But that it was like at least three or four different people getting away with using the Boston Stranglers step into the papers and that, used it as an excuse to get away with like beating wives and girlfriends and all of that. Absolutely, that there's husbands and boyfriends and men in that out there that got away with murder because of they decided, I'm going to do it like him, and then and then it just took off from there, and the police didn't do anything. So I'm glad that that was put up on Scary Mysteries, because it confirms everything that I've been saying about the Boston Strangler. So because my dad, my love of murders and serial killers and unsolved and like the Hinterkaifeck murders and the Villisca X murders and that, like I want to do a whole thing on my radio show, like like the murder review, the serial killer review, the murder review, something like that, where it's like presented like a newspaper. We were just having a discussion about things like this. I love it. I love this sort of thing. I like to find, I'm like the problem solver. I like to find answers to things where people have been scratching their heads for a long time. And with murders and that sort of thing, I get that from Mara. So, so yeah, um, I I've been thinking when I get rid of Trump, because he is going down, I think this is maybe where the prophecy comes in of being welcomed with open arms to the land of A's. Because I've been sitting here thinking about it, and it's like if America can go back to sanity, and we get rid of Trump and America's on the mend and that sort of thing, there's no reason why I can't go back to my original plan and plant my seeds in America, go to Montana or South Dakota, and build my foundation there. Because then because while he's there, there's no way in hell he's going to let me anywhere near America. Because I built him, I've got to take him down. So um, yeah, the Boston Strangler. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I'm not expecting anyone to listen, but my little videos are sort of like me recording my thoughts, I guess, and it's practice for when I get my radio show, because I'll be working from home a lot, as you know. So I need to be able to keep myself busy when I'm not writing and creating, and so doing my little radio shows and working with my talent and all of that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. So Boston Strangler, there we go. Albert DeSalvo, I agree 100% that he wasn't the only killer if he was in fact involved. So he may have done one, but I've truly believe that he wasn't responsible for all of them, and that some of them were victims of domestic abuse. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. They need to do DNA tests. Personally, I think they need to do DNA tests, and I think they'd be quite surprised. So let's see where this goes, eh? I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.